I think that maybe, and I want to say it's a generation. It's everybody has to understand how much work goes into whatever it is you're trying to do. If it's a doing thing, I always tell people, I think that I figured out the work part of what it takes to, be a musician, picking green beans. Did I ever tell you that story?
I don't think I remember that one.
Yeah, because we had a huge garden. My dad was a high school band director and my mother didn't work. So we had at least a half-acre garden.
Wow.
So, and that's what our chore was in the summertime, was working in that garden. And it was big enough to have to bring in a guy with a tractor to plow it up and disc it and get it all ready. And then we had to rake it smooth and get the rocks out of it and do all the planting, which was a lot of work. But it was more like the picking end of it, because green beans, a row of green beans, would take you 2 hours to pick, and you had 2 rows to do, and then you were done for the day. If you could, well, then you'd help snap them, but when you got all that done, you were done. My mom would just assign my older brother and I, 2 rows of green beans. So to do that kind of work, I would get a tomato stake and I'd reach out and put it in the ground as far forward as I could reach, and that's all I would look at. I would pick everything that needed to be picked up to that stake, and I wouldn't let myself look, to the end of the row because it was too far away. And then I'd move the stake. So bits and pieces, just little bits and pieces perfected. Because if you didn't pick everything in the row, my mom would assign another row. She'd come out and check it and say, you didn't do a good job, you're going to have to do another row. So you had to do a good job. So I learned to perfect this little piece from here to the tomato stake and then go on. And I don't think young people know that that's how you practice, that it has to be done that way, that you're working for perfection in little bits. And the good thing is, you start out and you can only do that much in a length of time, and the better you get at what you do, the more you can get through in a hurry. It's like you grow extra arms picking the beans or something, if you stay with it, if you'll work that way. But to this day, when I get something new that's very difficult, slowly just make sure it's in my brain and my fingers, and then less of it, and up the tempo, less of it, little bits, perfecting, making sure that it's right. And you really don't go on until you know that you know something when you can play it 5 times in a row perfectly. If you can't play them in a row, you really, I think it's a really good way to practice anyway, because you start getting performance anxiety on the 4th and 5th time, because you don't want to have to go back and do it again. So, that's, I think, the hard work aspect of it. If you're really willing to work hard, and the good thing is, it's something hopefully you're passionate about. So being in the practice room has to be something you love too. If you don't love being there, it's going to be difficult.